Welcome to Pre-Independence FYI.
Good morning, guys. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to FYI. Like Mr. Jordan said, for your information, I'm Gerard Finance alongside my co-host Sherry Duncan and our special guest today,
very special
one
guest,
and only Winston Jordan. Guys, we have been doing our work to get Mr. Jordan on.
So happy to have the former Minister of Finance.
Well, before we go further, I just have to say, it's Wednesday, 25th of May. Just put the timestamp right there before we get into the program. And we have so much to discuss. And with Mr. Jordan here, you can just imagine. So make sure you do your part. Share the stream so all persons can benefit from the conversation and all of that. I see we have a lot of folks already in the house. I was waiting even before we got on this morning. I see Claire Capel. Good morning, Claire. How are you this morning? Hazel Johnson, Patricia Goodman. I see Savage Rizal also here with us this morning, and Diane Fordyce. Wilton Blue. Wilton, I see you this morning. I haven't seen Wilton in a little bit.
Welcome back, Wilton. Welcome back. Welcome back.
And Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan is behind the scenes now, so he sees where we will be reading your comments from and how quickly they go by.
Right, yes, definitely.
And they go by so quickly. I see John Jones is saying good morning to the Honorable Mr. Winston Jordan. Gavin Liverpool is there, says good morning, FYI family. Mrs. Jordan, you have a whole fan base.
Yeah, very strong fan base.
So I noticed, and thanks to all the viewers and the supporters.
That is correct.
Marlon King and Rudy Hines, Pauline Hicks, John Jones, Chevron McDonald. If you don't call it name, they feel offended.
I would imagine that. I always listen in the morning and worry how you can call in all these names. And figure if you left out one or two that you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
very good, sir.
Because some people comment and say, so you don't see me here.
Please, guys, and let us know that you're hearing us loud and clear. That'd be great for us. I see Gavin Liverpool says it's great to have Mr. Jordan in the house and around the breakfast table. Yes,
that is correct. Although we're not serving him breakfast this morning. That's not
How do you do breakfast, sir?
Simple. I can't eat too much because I'm diabetic, so I eat small portions. They say often, but maybe 2 or 3 times a day, and that's it essentially. This morning I had my wife is Jamaican, so I tend to have a lot of Jamaican food still, right? So this morning was boiled plantains. I don't want to tell you with what because I'm going to get into trouble.
You might do justice. One can imagine.
I can only imagine, indeed. Because let me tell. I'm going to let some of the business here this morning. Guys, this morning I'm asking Mr. Winston before we came on set. I'm saying that you're gonna have some coffee, or are you gonna have any Lipton tea? Or Mrs. Jordan said, I can only do 1 cup of coffee per day, and I had it already.
Yeah. We drink a lot of tea around here.
Yeah,
3 programs per day. So we drink a lot of tea.
No, friends, but tea is very good. It's good for the bladder and the kidneys, and keep it clean, and and so forth. So, and I understand it has in certain whatever it is that gets rid of toxins and so on. So tea is good.
Not
for me.
We're on the right track then. We're on the right track.
Sandra Broderson says I'm diabetic too. We have a lot of persons that actually have to eat because of the diabetic history that they have, especially when it comes to family heritage and so forth.
Yes.
So Hazel Johnson says it's a boiled plantain with catfish.
That was a nail on the head. I'm trying to look Oh, Hazel know the story. Hazel, rock is coming.
I have to disappoint her because I don't eat on scale fish. And catfish is on scale fish.
And catfish too. Don't come around with funny. Please and thank you. Right? Shirley Crichton says, I love Mr. Jordan. He's the best. Indeed. Agreed. Yep.
It's raining cats and dogs in Ithaca. I think that's how this afternoon is supposed to be getting worse with the weather.
Believe it or not.
It's a thunderstorm. I am not sure.
Yes, I think that's in the weather forecast, some thunderstorms into the afternoon. I think into the mornings too. if we got it right.
Chef, once the green tea has antioxidants and it's great for us, but I think when we mix the everything else, like the sugar, the milk, I think we get rid of all of those things.
Yeah.
I'm trying to have tea by itself.
Amanda has tea. Tea bag.
This is tea.
Tea is a number of things come
No,
right.
this is tea. Look, I literally just put two of the green tea bag in it. Yeah, I put two this morning. I put two. I just have it in the water and it's gonna sit there and it's gonna pull and I'm gonna have that.
Different.
I tell you, I'm trying.
You guys are really lucky because when I was growing up, we used to have red rose tea. And so my mom would send me to buy a packet of red rose.
It's still on the market.
If she has enough money, you buy the big ones, like this. And she will shake out some in the pot and fill that pot to maybe half, depending on the size of the pot. And that tea will draw for the next couple of days. No, not the tea, You get your first dose. That's the best you're gonna get. The rest with the grungs, we used to call the grungs, with little water will stay in the pot. Next day, you fill back the pot again. And you put it back on the fire.
By
the time it reaches fourth or fifth draw, is water and milk.
One of the memories I have of childhood is smelling that ground coffee scent in the house.
Yes.
Not me personally, but my family. I love that ground coffee. In the same way, they have it settled there and drawing.
My grandfather used to do tea, like just tea. I think he had this English way about him that he was Collinet, right? And their whole heritage is it's more of the English style. So he would be with his cup of tea every morning, a cup of tea in the morning papers, and he would talk politics from every angle.
You see where you get it from now. See where you got it from.
Tea leaves and all of that, but we have so much going on right now.
So much we want to talk to Mr. Jordan about. A lot.
Yeah, but I was just scanning through the morning papers. I'm noting that a 6-month-old has died from COVID-19, and there are, I believe, 45 new cases that have been recorded as of yesterday. Finished. Well, guys, you would remember the numbers were being reported as 2 positive cases and so on. We always say that is woefully incorrect. And that even before of all the relaxation of so many regulations, one of the things that they did was they restricted testing. They're not going to test unless persons are ill and all sorts of nonsense at the public hospitals and so forth. But now we're seeing that they're being forced to go back to a lot of those measures that were in place previously because they had rushed it when it comes when they had relaxed the measures, especially when it comes to filling up public transportation to capacity, allowing a whole lot of shows and those things. But I know again, coming on to the holidays, we're expecting to see so many shows again. So how does that actually play in when you see the numbers are rising again? There's a big danger out there.
But one of the early things I remember with COVID-19 is what Mr. Jordan would have said, from the 2021 budget, I think it was, the first budget for the PPP, you were astonished, the second budget, you were astonished that they didn't have a real COVID package there, which I think led us to where we are now. Still dealing with the ravages, and while we've lifted some of the restrictions, COVID is still very present. Still very present. And we were talking on one of our programs just the other evening where a guy, I think it was Akio Bacchus out of Anna Regina, was saying to them, please don't come with the flag raising here because let's keep this COVID thing at bay. That's one of the serious challenges.
Well, I know about the flag raising there. So I've noticed a lot of comments, even in preparation for the activity to be held there. I think it's Damon Square. It's been held up. Even with the preparations, the traffic congestions is crazy. Even before that, so a lot, But I say that we have a lot to celebrate when it comes to our independence and all of that. We're going to be doing it in our own fine style.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
To say the least, I see Jubal Ward is on saying welcome, Mr. Jordan. Mr. Jordan looks very good coming from Hazel Johnson. You see, Mr. Jordan, I told you got a lot of fans.
Strong.
Right,
strong there.
It says, good morning, Mr. Jordan.
Joel Ward says the same thing. Welcome, Mr. Jordan.
Rudy said, hold the line, Mr. Jordan.
Yeah. Hold the line indeed.
I see Leon. Leon also in the comment section up and north. I think Leon has an alarm clock to make sure that he catches the program. And I saw him on. No, he actually was on. I think he was on in the ring last night too. Leon.
Welcome, Leon. Welcome. Cyber hugs. Go ahead, Julia.
I will continue to go through the comment section and I see a heartfelt welcome to Mr. Jordan is coming from Gloria Chester there this morning.
Yep. Gloria, good to see you. How is Diamond? Doing?
Yeah, but Mr. John George said, please, Mr. Jordan, let the Guyanese people know all the lies and misleading information that the PPP is making about people's money. It's,
right on.
Stanboard is just simple. Big up yourself, Big G.
I like that.
Yeah,
Big G.
He's just to the point, and of course, you see Sherrod's word being used there. George said them talk about
sex. Yeah. Folks, share the broadcast for us. Please share and do smash that emoji. But I know some of y'all locked into Mr. Jordan. Your hand are walking all of a sudden. So make it right, folks.
But I just wanted to make a quick comment on the independence part that you had brought up just before you went through the comments. And I was telling my wife this morning that I was quite disappointed that our show of patriotism in this Independence Week is not being there at all, whether it's social media, news, or so on. So we're treating this day as just another day, and then we move on. I was turning on the radio this morning. You can't hear patriotic songs. This is the pre-independence day. No patriotic songs, no anything about that period and so on. So we got a bunch of people growing up not knowing anything about independence, not knowing anything about republic, and so forth. And every time Venezuela Sabo rattles, we rush to get out the patriotic songs and Not a Blade of Grass, and and then we move on there afterwards. I don't think this will cut it at all. I'm pretty much disappointed in our approach.
Usually a huge build up to it.
Exactly. Look,
at least a week out, you're hearing a lot of.
When I grew up, when I was growing up, when we got independence in '66, I was going to be about 9 around that time, and there was excitement all over the place. We didn't know what it means. If it meant another holiday, it's fine. But importantly, around that time, you had what is called Youth Week. Youth Week, and they will take you out on excursions. That was a big thing for us because the country bus would arrive at our school. Right? The country bus. These country buses were made out of wood. They were local, They were made out of wood and so on. They had all kinds of nice names, Miss Anne, Princess this and that and so on. And at the top of the bus, you had a place where all the produce, fowl, pig, duck, will be mixed up with callaloo and boro and mango and everything. Everything went at the top. What couldn't hold the top will go in the bus with the passengers and so on. So you may have a duck next door to you. But anyway, our country bus will arrive at the school. We go into the country bus. And I remember us going to Sterling Products. First we went to, I think it's Banks DIH, got some free biscuits afterwards, and I think milk and biscuits. And then we went to Sterling Products up the road from Banks, where it is right now. And there we visited the factory, went through and so on. And they gave us, I think, with ice cream. And then we will go back in the bus and then, eat our little lunch or whatever was given to us. And then we go back to the school. That was a big thing for us. Very, very big thing. We learned a lot during that. Well, first of all, we learned something about Georgetown. We learned something about the East Coast or the East Bank, right? And, so there are a lot of activities that went on. Flag raising in the school, all the patriotic songs, like Oh Beautiful Guyana and so on. And then all over the radio, you will hear speeches from whether it's Jagon or Bornum or Digar or whoever else. But there was a sense of patriotism. All I hear now is, drink more water and mind my own business and all these things. Pre-independence. Pre-independence. And that is why it's hurtful when the library didn't allow the exhibition. But you hear me say all the time, when life throws you a lemon, you make lemonade. Because now that they have the exhibition in the avenue, they are going to attract 10 times more the visitors.
And we've been saying to people, go out and do the exhibition.
Well, you don't have to. The way how the tent apparently is structured, you walk straight. You continue walking on the. So you can't help while you're walking through the tent, but stare and want to know what is going on and so on. So they are going to have 10 times, maybe 100 times more visibility.
Yeah.
Because I loved the library when I was small. I used to be in public free library and I had John F. Kennedy Library in Main Street at that time. So I was in both. I was in both libraries. And I cannot say when last I went to the public free library. It would be decades. And I don't even think that exhibition would have drawn me to the public free library. But outside there at courts, close to courts and so on, and all the people who use in the avenue, 100 times more.
Yeah.
So they are making lemonade.
Yeah.
And for that, kudos to them.
Indeed. I was happy when I saw them move.
Me too.
Main Street Avenue, that is
important. I think Mrs. Jordan says, on some very strong points, especially when it comes to how we're looking at independence now, as opposed to how it was looked at before. And the whole sense that our national motto of one people, one nation, one destiny, you're not feeling it as we should. And I think a lot is to be blamed with the way in which efforts has been put in place to water down even that very motto and all of these symbols of nationhood and all of these things. So we have a fight before of is an uphill battle for us to hold on to those principles and values that Mrs. Jordan is speaking about, so that we don't
because they're important.
About it.
They're important to us. They're important to our children. It's very, very important. Very, very important. I was taken to join the library as a young man in South Ramville. Also, the main library, and I saw it as a rites of passage for my own child. Took him. I mean, he got online books and Amazon and all those things still. But I wanted him to have that experience of having the library card and borrowing a book and taking it back and that. I think it's very important. And all of the symbols of nationhood, very important.
Trust me, it's absolutely correct what both of you were saying, because I was listening to David Hines on one of his programs 2 weeks ago, and he was relating that this LOL and ROFL and all kind of thing has now crept into examinations. Where he was marking a paper and he had something marked ROFL or something like that. And he said he was livid. This is
short form of speaking, how they do it on social media.
I immediately know what it means.
But this now is creeping into academic papers and examinations. I can tell you, I'm still a teacher, but I taught at all levels, university level and everything else. If you wrote that to me, you can guarantee you're going to fail. I can tell you no. Because I would never accept this lowering of the standards. We keep lowering the standards lower and lower and lower and lower, as if this will make us proud. Look what is happening in the United States. The United States doesn't rank in the top 10 when you come to all these, what you call robotic ton and all this kind of stuff. They don't rank.
They don't rank in a lot of things.
A lot of work.
Actually, there was a comparison that was done, and the things that they rank high in is like what we're going to be going into very shortly when it comes to shooting and all of those things. The amount of persons incarcerated for certain. Those are the things that they rank at the very top for. But it's very, very. A lot of times we look at and we believe that those countries are shining examples, but then when you look at the nitty-gritty, when you realize when it comes to mathematics and so forth, who are coming out as the shining stars, which country is actually pushing in those directions, you're going to go to the Asian countries. That's the truth of the matter, that's the stats that's going to take you there. So a lot, but we have a lot of work to do to make sure that we don't further break down the values and morals that we should hold strong to. One people, one nation, one destiny.
Absolutely.
That's what we have to hold on to.
Well, not to belabor the point, but I think pre-2015, we were right there. We had all that decadence and decay. And it seems as though the current administration really wants to take us back there, because everything, and I mean, economically, Mr. Jordan is the expert here, could tell us everything seems to be aiming at taking us back to that very dark period in our history. But,
because we would remember, if we were to be fair, we would remember that very first flag raising there at the Durban Park, and when the golden arrowhead was mounted there, it was it's a slew of emotions across the event,
because it comes back to what Mrs. Jordan talked about. You had people who felt a real sense of return of national pride and all that. We had missed it for a long time. We didn't have national awards a little bit,
Yes.
Before that time, a whole host of stuff. So, I don't think you'd have anybody who would argue with you really and truly that the current administration and regime is not one who hold those things in high esteem. I mean, it used to be a great thing to see ambassadors and diplomats going to the Independence Arch to lay a wreath, and then you go to present your letter of credentials at office of the president. All of that is done away with.
Yeah.
Right? Look at that. What became of that Independence Arch prior to 2015?
Yeah,
right?
true.
People didn't even realize after time there was an Independence Arch. It was such an eyesore. People just forgot that space there.
We don't give credence to culture and symbolism and all these kind of things. We save our money to go to United States for holidays and to visit their beautiful architecture, whether it's the monuments or the parks or and so on. When we could do that right here.
Yeah.
We allow the town hall to deteriorate, city hall to deteriorate. We allow St. George's to deteriorate. We allow all our beautiful buildings to deteriorate or to be torn down without permission, and you put up a concrete square box, right? Which is what is happening to Georgetown. All the lovely avenues with the beautiful, that is Victorian, Georgian, whatever, architecture and so on, all of these are disappearing. And the few that are left are being used as offices. When you use them as office, you have to traverse, every daily, 24/7, people from outside, inside. And those, there's a limit to how much those pieces of wood and so on. And a lot of those buildings were nail wasn't used. They were what they call tied and so forth, and pegs and so forth. I mean, you won't go to the United States and see them doing such a thing to one of their old buildings at all. I was in Hershey in Pennsylvania in 1992, I think it was 93. And I went to some of these buildings. They will not allow you to go anywhere. They have a barrier around the building. So you have to stay outside and take a look at it. I experienced the same thing initially with going to Bob Marley's his house in Kingston there. And they pen it off. You can't go for obvious reasons. 2,000, 10,000 tourists per annum trekking through. The building is not going to last. We don't have that. Forgive me for sounding like but it's nothing to do with old fashioned and so on. We have to value our culture. We have to preserve it. We have to and we have to be highly patriotic in a time when we are either accepting knowingly or unknowingly huge numbers of migrants to us, whether they come in lawfully or unlawfully. Pretty soon you might be run over by Venezuelans. I'm just saying, but
Well, Mr. Jordan, I've been saying for quite some time that there is no data out there at this point for us to actually know the amount of Venezuelans that are living in Guyana right now. Right, persons have. I don't think people understand that because I go on the ground and there's some areas I go into, I am shocked to see several Venezuelan families living in those areas, right in the countryside.
I saw a comment on social media recently, and somebody was remarking that when you go into Georgetown, you need to know a little Spanish because, or what, Portuguese or what have you, because we're being, as you said, we could be overrun. You take a walk on the seawalls.
Not just that, even
every other vendor,
even the jobs that are being advertised right now for persons that are selling, especially those clothing stores and so forth on Regent Street they're asking for you to have a second language. They want you to have Portuguese or Spanish. They're asking for that. Even at the level of the sales clerk now, that you're asking for that. So it goes to show who are here, who is shopping, because I know a lot of persons also is coming over from Cuba shopping and taking back goods and stuff like that. So it's a whole lot. The dynamics are crazy.
I mean, we're treating this whole problem too late. And we're going to wake up sooner than later and found that we have been overrun because you have Cubans coming here. They don't need visas to come here. And they're coming here to shop and so on. And now that COVID is lower than it was 2 years ago and so on, I guess they will resume their shopping. But importantly, they're coming here because they have to go to the U.S. Embassy to do the interviews and whatnot for their permanent visas to the United States, right? A couple of years ago, America moved it from, I think it's Colombia to Guyana, because the Cubans didn't have the hassle that they will get going to Colombia. Here they can come in visa free. So you have those. Then you have these massive numbers of Venezuelans who are crossing the borders at will. You know, we seem to have abandoned that border. They're crossing the borders at will and coming in. We don't know how many. Then, of course, we have large numbers of Brazilians. Now they are making their presence and their power felt. Force was in Georgetown, and now they're spreading the wings. We have large numbers of Chinese, right? Those numbers, I don't know whether they came lawfully, how many of them came lawfully, how many of them were unlawful, how many of them came as part of construction and never went back, and so on and so forth. So those four are very, very, very visible in Guyana. And we don't have their numbers, but collectively, they seem to have more power than a born native Guyanese.
But the way in which they do business also is for us to know it, you know, because I wanted to bring the point in that I'm from Region 7, Bartica. So when it comes to Brazilians, I know first, and I grew up and I have seen the numbers move from 2 and then 10, 20, and then I've lost count of how many of them are there. And I remember specifically private sector business being done there. Before I was even into government. I remember the guy came to me and he had to sign up for a service. So I'm like, no, but you need to like have an ID card. He said, yes, I have an ID card. So I'm like, you know, like what, like how, where, you know, how did you get here? Like, how do you have a Guyanese ID card? You can't even speak English, you know? So there's a lot being done. And when the way in which they do business, I can tell you, if you were to speak to certain companies, I'm sure that if you speak to companies like Western Union and so forth, they will tell you the amount of money that leaves here that is sent back home, right? So the structure that which they utilize to do business is like, yes, they're here, they're working, and so, but the resources are not being expended here as should be. The majority of them send back the resources back home. It's a very serious thing to look at altogether.
Yeah, and I think it's as Mr. Jordan says, it's a very visible issue now, and you only need to take a walk on the seawall any given day and look at the vending booths out there, and you see and you listen and you say, am I in my own country still? We have to look at policy direction and who is given preference when it comes to the way in which business is set up and all of that, because it is sneaking up on us every single day. We're not seeing it, and we have to wake up one day and realize what is happening before it is too late. And I am fearful that is going to be sooner rather than later. Yeah. Right? What else we dealing with this morning?
But I want us to look at the morning paper, just quite, well, not the morning paper, but I want us to look at the international issue that's brewing. I'm very, very sad as we're looking at it right now, guys. You see, we see on the international level, as everyone has been noting over the past 24 hours with Texas shooting.
Texas shooting. This is chilling.
We have
18, right?
19 children and 2 adults, 21 in all.
Oh my God.
That has lost their lives, you know, and this is at a primary school. I don't want to say elementary because we deal with primary here. This is at a primary school in Texas there, and the shooter being an 18-year-old himself, and he has said to the news is reporting that he shot his grandmother and then went and had this shooting.
Mr. Jordan, there's evil in this world.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, too
A
much.
right thinking person can shoot one child, much more 19.
Yeah.
And this is coming so close
to the other one.
To the other one that happened only about a week and a half ago or so on.
Yeah, I'm forgetting the name of the place that one came out from. You know, it was just there, but this one now has overshadowed.
Oh, the other one? Recent one, upstate Buffalo.
Buffalo. You know, I don't see somebody naturally can shoot, you know, one child. 19 children.
19 children.
My
can you
God.
imagine what kind of person can just shoot a child, much less 19? You know,
but they're so small, you know.
Small, 4th, 5th graders, right?
10-year-olds to be exact. You know, these children, that's their age, 9, 10.
What did it to him? 18 years old.
Right?
Yeah.
You send your child to school as a parent, you get your child ready, you send him off to school, and you expect to go, and you go to work, and then you're coming back home to pick up your child. You're at work to get a call to say your child has been shot and killed in school. It's unbelievable. I know the whole conversation.
So imagine the grief there.
I have a problem with the fact that this is going to start, and you're going to hear weeks, you're going to listen, you're going to hear weeks of conversation about gun laws and regulations and all of that. And when it dies down, it just dies, and they're going to wait till another incident happens, and then they're going to start a conversation again and repeat everything that they said prior. Because all the conversations that you're about to hear about gun laws and all of that, it has been had several times before.
They're going to be huge pushback to put any law against gun. But not what you. I think even the existing laws probably are honored in the breach in the United States. Because I think there are strong enough laws existing in the United States to prevent this from happening. As the lobbyists would say, guns don't kill people. It's people with the guns who kill people.
90. And there's that political aspect of it, and the lobby and all of that, and then there's the social aspect. And Treat and I were talking before the program started, and I remember visiting a year or so back the AME Zion Church in South Carolina, where they had shot up with a fella, in similar fashion, had gone to a Bible study, Mr. Jordan, sat down, and at the end of that Bible study, shot about 8 or 9 persons from that AME Zion Church.
Yes, I remember.
And when we visited that church, we didn't even go inside. People would just come and stand on the outside for a couple of minutes quietly. There was something. There was some strong presence in that place.
Demonic?
I can't even describe it.
Right.
It was a strong something, and people just stand and just.
It gives you goosebumps.
Yes, pay tribute. And I can imagine this school would be transformed in similar fashion. 19 young lives, 19 persons lost their lives in that school, and 2 teachers.
Yeah.
Wow, it's the world has gone mad when you look at it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of crazy happening all around, because you will remember that, and when you spoke about that, I was telling Cher that I had my own experience even visiting the 9/11 memorial, that museum there. And when you go into, because they built the museum, they actually built the museum on the spot, So when you're going through the museum, there are different things that they left just like that. The stairs that persons escaped on, they didn't move it or anything, left it just there, and they built around that area and all of that. And I can say that it gives you a different feeling altogether, and to know that was an act of terrorism and all. And then we heard recently about a crash in China, and that now is being said that somebody in the cockpit willfully down that plane too. So that a lot of persons losing their lives based on these willful actions of persons. And then we go back to this whole aspect of your mental health and all of those things. So it's a lot. But on a regional front, because we must move forward, I can talk about these things forever, but we have to say that before I go forward, we have to protect ourselves, protect our children. We have to spend time and instill values and morals into the young people that we raise into this world, And as parents, we need to be ever so present in the molding at those tender ages, so that we're crafting healthy minds into society, so that somebody don't go out there. Somebody raised that child, went out there and did that. You don't know what the background or whatever they came from, but we have to do our part as parents, as a society altogether, to protect and nurture healthy minds. We are nurturing reckless minds, and I don't want to get into it too much, but I have to. The music that we allow young people to listen to, I'm telling you, none of my children could be in my house to listen to that music, but shooting and killing, and no, hell no. You're not going to listen to that in my home, because whatever feeds your mind, and that is what is going to manifest and multiply in your head altogether. And then you're in a video game and you're shooting out everybody. And no, not in my house. I'm sorry, because I'm going to do my part to craft your mind and nurture your mind, and to grow a healthy mind in my household.
Healthy minds.
Caring and all of that.
Healthy minds.
But as we move forward, I see on the regional front, we're looking at the headline reads there, Cheryl, no early election on the
Mrs.
BVI.
Jordan, what do you think? This BVI story with the premier and the drugs and the all of the corruption and all of that. What a shocking turn of events in the BVI there. Beautiful place.
Yes, it is. But these matters will solve themselves. I think this is small potatoes relative to some of the concerns we may have here in Guyana and the rest of the region. They're still a colony of Britain, essentially, and they will have to work with Britain to solve that issue. As I said, it's small potatoes, but they will get over. They will get over it.
And following on that, the Prime Minister out of Dominica, Scarrett, is saying that in light of that, he says, I think what has some bearing here too is that public servants are not above the law. And these public servants here, they were involved in a lot of stuff they should not have been. But that's some comments coming out of the Dominican Prime Minister, Roosevelt Scarrett. Frida.
I'm noting the comment sections like we always do, and I see Elizabeth and Narayan is there saying the 9/11 museum had me depressed and I couldn't finish the tour. The room where they narrated the life of each person who died got me, and I left after that. You know,
that might be so. I haven't gone to that museum, but I think the museum that will really make you cry as African non-white people is the museum in Washington, D.C., the African Museum in Washington, D.C. That museum, you come out there, you perhaps, if you can afford it, you do the entire visit, you will feel as if you went through Gori, it's Gori, something they call it, I think it's in Ghana, the place of no return. When you enter there, here you're coming out is into the slave boat in the sea to be transported to God knows where. So they have been able to recreate a number of those scenes in the African Museum. I tell you, I was there. And by the time you reach Quarterway, you flow with tears about how man's inhumanity to man, you know. And as we talk about independence, you know, you come back again to independence, you know. You wonder sometimes whether we are really independent and whether we didn't exchange one type of colonizers and rulers to another set, only this time they look like me, essentially, you know. And I hope tomorrow or the whole week we can continue to reflect as to whether we are really better off. As I see some people had done in some parts of the Caribbean, I know Jamaica a couple of years ago, they were examining whether they were better off being a colony than being independent. When you have to weigh those two things,
how is that even an option?
56 years later.
Not even an option.
Yeah.
56 years later.
Wow.
56 years later, you weighing whether you were better off as a colony
Yeah.
or as an independent nation. You know, no doubt independence brought some benefits and so on, but for somebody who grew up in the riots in the 60s and so, I think Guyana is at the worst place when it comes to unity than it was in the early 60s. You know, you're seeing, for me, I'm seeing racism as never before.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the 60s when other race riots.
Even
so
with the big theme of one Guyana, even with that, sir?
Listen, I've never mentioned more than once one Guyana as on a program. I will stick to our motto, one people, one nation, one destiny.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that aspiration. And when we try to confuse it with one Guyana, I said before, it seems as if people are at the march to change all our symbols.
Yeah.
Whether it's our national flower,
Your
our
flag
national
and everything.
flag, or a slogan, even the name of the country. Now we've reverted to calling Guyana Republic of Guyana. When we came in 2015, Mr. Granger was adamant, President Granger was adamant, the name of Guyana is the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. And he made the UN and all of them start writing Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Because even the United Nations was addressing Guyana as Republic of Guyana.
Wow.
Cooperative. Now I see we're going back to Republic of Guyana. That is not the name of Guyana. However you like it or not, it is not the name of Guyana. We are in the Constitution, I think very early, I think Article 1 or something like that, the name of Guyana, Cooperative Republic of Guyana. You don't like it, then get 2/3 or referendum or whatever it is and go change it. But for the time being, don't desecrate our country by calling it Republic of Guyana. And, you know, you have all those things. You know, you're seeing when you go around the place, instead of our water lily, you're seeing some other flower, prominent, you know, our boards, everything is, you know, slowly, and it's a psyche thing. You throw that in front of young people and so on, they can feel that those are our national symbols.
Yeah.
You know, they will feel those are our
Yeah.
national symbols. You know, one Guyana. One Guyana is what? You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who decided that?
You know, you ask the
where?
average child notice what is our motto? One Guyana.
But it means nothing. I think that's the most important part. There, you just can't throw words together and when it means absolutely nothing, it does not mean anything to anyone. You know, and no matter how much you sing and shout and preach it, it will still mean nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Because as I am, I can tell you, growing up in school, you learn about and we had national anthems in school. Like I remember every single Friday in school, you used to go out singing in the morning, and you would sing national songs and folk songs and things like that. My children knows nothing about that. Like when was that erased from our system? You know, who decided that should be erased from the schools? At what point in time? So I grew up learning those things. I don't think there's any national song that I don't know word for word. You know, because I grew up singing it.
Yeah, but as Mr. Jordan said, in the lead up to independence and our Republic anniversary and all that, we used to have lots of that playing. And it's like if you travel in the buses, sometimes you don't want to learn the dub music, but it plays so often, you travel so often. By default, you learn it.
By default, you learn it.
If they aren't playing on the radio, if you listen to them in your home, then you know by default you're learning nothing.
Terry Nelson, boss man, Terry Nelson, who died a couple of years ago. Oh, we welcome independence to Guyana. That was like Not a Blade of Grass kind of tune.
Yeah.
Why are we not playing this tune?
Yeah.
You know, what does independence mean to us? Why don't we have debates? Why don't we have school debates leading up to today, to a grand national final?
The only time we roll out the flags and so on is when somebody visiting. Then you see people knocking a flag on the posts and so on.
Yeah.
But independence, you don't see nothing. None of that.
You know, look, I compliment the government for carrying the national flag raising out of Georgetown. That's good. Reason two, you know, everybody must experience, you know, not the little stepchild thing where you send a minister or some other party official and you're doing some flag raising, you know, not even on the day of the independence, but some day before and so on. So I congratulate them on that. But these one-off things that don't form part of a package to realize something, you know, really, you know, for me, don't really cut it at all. Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into that a whole lot, and as we move forward, you know, Chad, I want us to look at one of the headlines that we're seeing when we're looking at what's going on locally. Is a deal finally signed to audit the $9 billion US in expenses claimed by Exxon and partners.
Finally, because we were happy about this, and I know that under the last administration, this was done very promptly. I think it was about
400 something million.
400, that was audited and handed over. I don't think it has been made public since.
No, it hasn't been made public. I understand when you read this article, it suggests that the delay in signing this was due to the fact that they had to complete the pre-audit. And there were some issues with the pre-audit and they had to go back and finalize it. So I get the impression that it's now finalized and hopefully you may see it soon. Because you know when you do an audit, you have to send it to the people. You know, I mean, when the Auditor General does his audit, he has to go to send it to each one of the ministries as to what his findings, to see whether those were accurate, and then you'll have an opportunity to respond there and then, and he will adjust his report based on the response and so on, and then it comes into a final, and then you all deal with it at the PSC and so on. So I presuming that is what the minister means when he says.
But actually, that's the first time I heard it, because what I heard was initially I heard Mr. Jagger himself, Mr. Vice President himself, stating that there wasn't any companies here with the capacity.
Oh, I was talking only about the pre-audit.
Oh, yeah.
Only about the pre-audit. I know nothing about the $9 billion.
There wasn't any. So I was surprised when I saw this consortium. You know, that is the most recent catchphrase. Consortium. Everybody has a consortium. You know, looking at this.
That's interesting because they keep saying what local. It's very contradictory in reading the article this morning, because the consortium of the 3 or 4, how many of them got it, have now subcontracted
to an international partner.
To international partners, 2 international partners. You know, so may as well we have gone straight to the international partners and cut out this middleman story as far as I'm concerned. You know, but if they think, and you know, they make up a lot of excuses. Oh well, you know, the subcontracting will bring training and will bring this and that. go straight and let they subcontract locals. As you know, if you
that'll be the clause. Put that as a
Smart
clause
decision.
altogether. Yeah. But you know what's going on there. We don't have to spell it out for you guys. We have a very, very
You're
smart.
big. You're big, but
Well,
and that makes sense.
I think that before you come up with though, I think what is interesting is that none of the major firms locally forms part of the consortium. No Ramon McRae, no Deloitte Touche, no nothing.
I saw interestingly Floyd Haynes is in there and he has a bank opening soon.
Yeah, I said, Cheryl, I said none of the big,
yeah.
the big.
Cheryl, why are you trying to be specific, right?
I don't know why you tried to be specific.
Yeah, but I have to say when it comes to Raman McCree, we do a lot of our work and we research from Raman McCree and a lot of what they say. And I know that Raman McCree, they are professionals in what they do, and they peel lashes wherever, left, right, and center when they need to. Right?
I see.
Right.
In one of the earlier articles, there was an emphasis on costs for this 9 billion audit more than anything else.
Exactly.
It was over $1 million US, and then we were able to bring them down to something below it. I was like,
you're talking 9 billion, you worrying about costs?
Yeah.
9 billion, you're talking about equivalent between 750,000 US and 1 million.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to bring down costs, it means then you're also compromising the integrity of the audit.
Yeah.
In terms of the people who can be made available.
Yeah.
In terms of the corners that will need to be cut to stay within the 750,000, while at the same time maximizing whatever profit I'm expected to make out of the 750,000. That's to be the last, you're talking $9 billion here. And I couldn't even understand that at the same time. But maybe I'm an old time, as I say.
But if they cut beyond, if they force persons to take on the cost beyond what is necessary to actually carry out the functions, then the functions won't be carried out as effectively and efficiently as they need to. But I wanted to go directly into our segment of what they said, if we can move forward.
Interestingly, because here we're talking about there was lots of commentary on what happened with the supernumerary constable, Miss Ballers, with that incident, the alleged incident concerning the attorney-at-law Nirvan Singh. And racial remarks that were hurled at her and all kinds of stuff. A number of persons wrote this letter in the papers this morning, and part of it says the header in Santa Cruz, for instance, says we call on the authorities, including the DPP, to ensure that the Ballers case receives a fair and impartial hearing. The part of that letter reads, if the allegations are true, and we have no reason to believe otherwise, yet another gaping hole will have been punched in the government's One Guyana slogan. We continue to see and witness actions which appear to contradict racial and ethnic unity and equality and equity. Discrimination continues to stalk Guyana and cannot be wished away by nice words and photo shoots like these folks are hearing you, Mr. Jordan. They peep your books. And the letter goes on to read, for Guyana to fulfill its mandate of one people, one nation, one destiny, we must all recognize that we are a multi-racial, multi-ethnic country and find all means to ensure that all ethnic groups, be they the majority or minority, have confidence that any and all discrimination on the basis of race, sex, gender, geography or social status, sexual orientation, disability, religion or political affiliation, perceived or otherwise, will not be tolerated. And this was signed by folks like Vanda Radzik and Vidirata Kisoon and those. I thought it was quite an interesting letter on this matter.
Wow.
Yeah. What they said. That's what they said about it.
What they said. I think rightly so. And a lot of conversation we've been having around these issues for quite some time. And persons I always say I commend people for speaking out on these matters. The more we go,
and they've been speaking very strongly, because we know that the DPP has been very has tried to come out and say,
defensive.
It is apolitical. Her office is apolitical, and she will not be. The DPP's office will not be bullied or these things.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But a lot,
Interesting.
like, and then I just go back and
That's
say,
what they
my
say.
only comment on that is like the perception of bias and all of those things need to be completely non-existent when dealing with such matters.
Correct.
So
Correct.
that's my only point that I have to.
Correct. The big issue.
The big issue. Right.
The big issue today is economics, and we're so happy to have Miss.
Yes. Well, this is right up, Miss
Jordan here.
Jordan. This is all you, right? Because
yeah.
More band-aid, as I said, more band-aids of hampers and handouts.
Yeah, and this is how we saw. This is how we saw some of the commentators commenting on some of what has been happening locally with all of these. You know, you run to a region and you see take 250 jobs or 250 what do you call it? 250 250 small business grants, or so on.
We're making it up. We're making it up as we go along.
Yeah. And you know, my first thing, Mr. Jordan, I think I would want to ask you on this point is that we had a budget that was read 2 months ago.
Exactly.
None of this was featured in any part of the budget.
Yes.
So where's this coming from?
Well, you know, I mean, it's so sad. As somebody who's been in finance, budgeting, economics for, I don't know, the greater part of my life, when I see these things, it really, really, really gets me upset. But it's more political power than economic sense, really. But I suppose, you know, you can use political power to an extent to which the society acts or reacts. And this is exactly what is happening here. A budget is the most powerful document of a government. It's more powerful than even the National Development Plan, because the budget is supposed to pull from the National Development Plan. National Development Plan ordinarily should be about 10 to 20 years, a 10-year plan or a 20-year plan. A medium-term plan may go 3 to 5 years. So either ones that you have, your budget is supposed to come from there, because these documents, these long-term documents, will have achievements that you're striving to get. And you have the metrics for measuring the achievement. So if you say at the end of 10 years, GDP would have grown on average by 6%. Health education would have improved by 25%. And the means of measuring the 25, you have 10 more health centers, 30 more doctors, 3 more specialists, and you go on and on and on. And you go by. So that is the general way in which you must be spending money for it to achieve a purpose, a specified purpose, and that gets reflected in the annual budget. If your budget is to mean anything. When I read the budget, I said, there we go again. Another one, where's the plan? We don't even have a medium-term plan to say where this thing is carrying us. And I made some other comments, as you know, I gave to people because by that time anybody would come out, is still convalescing and so on. One of the things that stuck to me like a bone in my throat is the $5 billion that had no meaning to it.
This is the $5 billion for to help with cost of living.
And I still maintain in my own mind, based on in a budget sense, that setting aside that $5 billion in the manner in which it was set aside is illegal. I believe it's illegal because the Constitution is clear. Where you did not budget for something and it becomes urgent, emergency, necessary, and so on, you can go to the contingencies fund. You don't need to budget a contingency within the budget. There is a contingency fund for any contingency, like a rainfall, a flooding that's going on here. You didn't budget for it, fine. Even though you shouldn't, COVID makes a massive reappearance. You didn't budget for it. You can go to the contingency fund. If you can't get to the parliament, if you can't get to the parliament, all right, that's why you will go to the country for the supplementary. You go to the contingency fund. For you to vote a $5 billion that had nothing to it, you could check all the laws, the Appropriation Act, all these different laws. How can you vote an empty $5 billion? I mean, you do something similar when you do wages and salary, but you are voting it under wages and salaries.
Correct.
Under what are you voting $5 billion? Which I didn't see the budget, but if you guys say, tell me under which head did the $5 billion get voted on?
Other
what? So now you having this $5 billion as a slush, a political slush fund.
That's what I said.
That is being used around the country as a traveling salesman, leaving a little bit here, leaving a little bit there, a little bit there. And when you check and see how the $5 billion now is being used, because it doesn't have the stamp of Parliament. These individual things that are coming under the $5 billion do not have the stamp of the Parliament. Okay? So you drop $1 billion here for fertilizer. Parliament did not approve that. Did not approve it. Parliament did not debate it. We didn't have the benefit of the opposition and the government views by putting forward this $1 billion. So $1 billion dropped there. Where is it going? It's going to farmers. Because
I have my own issues with that.
So it said. So it's going to farmers who it is claimed 30% of their inputs is fertilizer. Okay, so supposedly this free fertilizer will free them of 30% costs. And supposedly they are going to turn around this 30% cost into lower prices. Now, farmers don't produce rice, millers do. They produce paddy. Okay, and they sell the paddy to the millers who mill the paddy into rice. So tell me why the farmer should sell the miller at 30% less when he can't hold the miller accountable
for this.
And it goes back to the term that we've been using so long, right? The trickle down economics that they say that they have been using for so long. Mrs. Jordan, I have another issue shared. I can't go.
But before I go, let me just bring this one quickly on. So today's papers got $40,000 to be paid for 10 days job. Apparently this is going to happen in all the different regions that event and promise, right? So here again, you move from promising, I think it was 800 in region 2.
I think we
800.
I think they're 2,000.
They're now at 2,000.
They are 2,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
800 in region.
You got to love Guyana. Listen. You got to love Guyana. So I go and I promise you 800. I am assuming that they did the maths.
Yeah. Which maths?
Whatever. Let us give them some credit. They did the maths at 800 for region 2. Given the constraints of the monies and so on. And they come with 800 to region 2. Then, hey, wait a minute. These people got a large number of applicants coming in. My brother, if you got free money, if you're having free money, you'll get a large number of applicants.
Of course, especially where you didn't highlight that they're going to have something to do.
Right? So 2,005 applicants you get. You say, okay, boy, let me move from 800 to 2,000.
Yeah.
So now 2,000 people will be accommodated. $40,000 for a 10 days job. I'm assuming the 10 days are 10 working days. So we call that a fortnight. Okay, good. Now, let's take June as a month, because this is month here gone as well.
Yeah.
I checked this morning, June got 22 working days. 22 working days at 4,000 a month, because 40,000 divided by 10 days is 4,000. Will make it 88,000 a month. Right. The minimum wage is $74,900.
Yeah.
So you are going to pay these people,
part-time workers,
higher
than
the regular monthly workers, who going through the same issues, who going through the same issues as the person there, or the person that you're now going to give this money. So this person is going to get roughly $14,000, $13,600 more per month than the minimum wage. The minimum wage paid to.
That person has to go to work.
To a public servant who can't hold a second job. He may moonlight, but is prevented from holding, he or she is prevented from holding by the public service rule from holding a second job. But these people can hold second, third, fourth, and fifth jobs. This here is a side show for them. It is made public in the papers that we're not stopping you from working other places. but we're just giving you a little bit more money.
But then it goes, Mrs. Jordan, but then that goes up. The question is going to come along with that. How many persons that are already working would also go and apply
exactly
for that and be getting that money in addition,
Exactly.
And I made a point several times that these jobs, part-time jobs that they're having there, they are making sure that they pass it through the political filter
of the regional administration.
So it's not going through the structured system, and so they're making sure that their political representatives are going to be hand-picking
who gets that
and who
2,000
does not.
But it's interesting because if you went to Region 2 and you said Region 2 needs 800, but it ends up to 2,000. You've gone to Region 5, you said they need 800, but we're going to wait. And they said these jobs were supposed to be dished out over 2 or 3 weeks ago.
That's 2 or 3 weeks after and 2 weeks after the announcement, they said, right?
Meanwhile, I think, and y'all as the opposition, you need to shout harder. I mean, come on, I'm going to knock you a little bit this morning. You got to shout harder. What happened to Region 4?
Yeah.
You think
largest
Region 4, the
yeah.
largest population, you
it.
think Region 4, you got people are overflowing with jobs. You want to take a look at last week Saturday, I think it was. Was it last week Saturday at the Marriott Hotel?
Yeah.
Look at the chaos that was taking place.
And that is why this map here that we've been tracking it says there's been nothing there for Region 4.
Nothing.
Left out.
Nothing
altogether.
for Region 4. But the other thing too is what work will these people be doing? What work?
It was never identified because it will be nothing.
I mean, look, therefore, if you want, look, I don't mind in this trying times, people are given a little bit of cash transfer. But in the equity sense, all those who should benefit must benefit. It can be that you are going wrong like Santa Claus. Taking the state's money, taxpayers' money, and determining who will get this benefit. Because this is exactly what is happening. 2 years plus on the COVID, and we have no baseline data of the impact of COVID and which are the regions, communities, and so forth that are really suffering and do need the assistance 2 years after.
Which is why I'll circle back to the budget, because, part of the claim was, they bring these budgets so fast and, they're ready and the shortest budget ever prepared, but biggest budget and all of that. But it seems as though the budget didn't capture a lot of things.
A lot of things, and it seems this is deliberate. Yes, there was on Kadaki's program, and I mentioned the fact that when Jagdeo went to Linden, he announced that the government had approached the Islamic Bank for $120 million to resurface the Linden Highway. Now, and that the loan was expected to be approved by June this year. Now, budget came out when? February or March?
February.
And passed in March.
February.
Right? February, March.
Yeah.
Right? February. This loan is going to be approved in June, and works is expected to start before the end of the year. That is what he said. Now, I checked. No, I may be wrong. I checked to see whether this project was mentioned in the budget or in the estimates or so on. Because if you're going to start work this year, then a token must be put in the estimates. And to represent the fact that this project is going to start this year, right? I didn't see any. As I said, maybe your guys will call it. But as 120 million US, this is the second largest. This is the largest loan in recent times. The largest being the 120 million US that they took for the Maburu Road. So another 120 is coming up fairly quickly, and yet you have nothing in the budget. You have nothing in the 2022 budget that gives you this. So all these things are happening that are supposed to be reflected in the budget.
But it's not.
But you hear it by the way, or you hear it as some grand announcement. You hear it as some grand announcement.
And so, I know, Mr. Jordan, I'm going to ask you about even how the announcements are made, because it seems as though every time Irfan Ali is overseas, you got a lot of announcements coming out to the vice president, but now he can't even wait, because now he's gone to Essequibo and dishing out these 2,000 as against 800 jobs. And so we can talk about that. These 2,000 jobs, we've discussed that. But in addition to that, there was this trip quite recently to IFLOT
Yes.
to deliver the very bad news that IFLOT is not coming back as promised. These sugar estates will not be open, but instead is more money. It's 250,000 to these workers, among other hampers and handouts and so forth. Again, the promise was that we're gonna open back the sugar estate. After AFC was wrong, we're gonna make sugar great again. Jordan them didn't know what they're doing. This whole thing of the right sizing the industry, them buys and so on. But here we are. Basically say we like to but take $250,000.
Well, the thing is that they were better at selling these lies, to the population. No matter how much you try to educate the population as to what was happening, I guess it's whose word they wish to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, as a matter of fact, it doesn't mean much to the people who were lied to. Are they getting up in arms and say, you lied to me and therefore this and that? No. I mean, it's just happy go along. Now, see, once that reaction happens, then politicians will be comfortable in not being accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Once that happens. And once you have all this money available that you can dole out, knowing fully well that all it requires in a parliament that seems, I can put out any number of adjectives, but I'm going to be very kind. A parliament that seems powerless. Let us say that. Okay. Then you will have what is going. Look, we paid the sugar workers severance, generous severance. There was no complaints by any one of the sugar workers that I know. I spoke to a number of them. They're glad. I mean, it's on record. Some of them are on record, thanking the government, the then coalition government, for bringing an end to the misery, for giving them this, helping them with the retraining, the small grants, and all these different stuff. Okay, you give them. Government comes in, can't open back the sugar estates, give them another 250,000. Okay? And this was done not through the budget at the time. It wasn't planned in any budget or so on. They went for a contingency amount. Contingency to pay a $250,000 grant to sugar workers. When you asked, it was a manifesto promise. It wasn't anything in the budget.
Basically. No, they
it wasn't anything that is emergency or any such thing.
Yeah.
250,000. Now you're going to a select group. So that was all the sugar workers. Now you're going to a select group of sugar workers. And you're telling them we get another 250,000. Right? We can get another 250,000. Plus we are going to promise you 6 days work until this matter comes to an end and so forth. How can you use states' money, government's money? Had the coalition done something like that, what do you think would have happened? Chaos would have gone on the street. They would have pillory us. They'll do all kinds of things.
Turn vehicles by pencil and stuff.
But you can get away now. Taking the state's money. You don't think that there are so many communities in this country who are suffering,
who could use it,
who can use 250,000,
and
who didn't get the first 250,000.
Oh
Jordan, man!
This is an administration that hasn't dealt very prudently with the state's money, because just recently I know you had a back and forth with Anand Gulsaraj in the paper.
Well, you didn't apologize.
But
you didn't apologize, right?
But you're talking. Do you accept his apology?
Look, Cheryl and Joetta, look, I am not a TV star or Facebook thing and so on. If I come on your program and so on, I want to educate. I don't want to debate anybody, and all this esoteric thing. We're too bright, and none of we gonna win any debate. You understand? So if I write a letter to the papers, I'm writing a letter based on facts to educate, not to get on anybody's nerves or any sort of thing. And I said it very plainly. I'm not going to be a frequent letter writer, but I'm going to clarify if you and if you stay in my person or my integrity, which I value very highly, I'm going to write to try and think that. No, last year, 2020 September, a well-known politician came up and parroted this nonsense about how we were spending money without parliamentary approval, spending money without a budget. It's a no-brainer. We were spending money without a budget. Agreed. But we were not spending money without constitutional or legislative authority. That individual knew it. You don't win the election, you're trying to score points by trying to stay in the coalition. So I went out there with a letter, I think it was dated the 7th of September 2020. And I named all 4 of the instances that the Constitution provides where you can spend money without parliamentary approval. They're all there from Article 217, I think, right down to 220. You know, they're all there. And I thought I had laid that to rest. Over a year plus, Mr. Gulsuran comes up with this nonsense. But we were spending money between May and August. Yeah. I don't know how he ends up with August. You understand? Because we left August the 2nd. So it says nothing about the PPP. Because August the 3rd, they would have been spending money too. So he stops at August. You know, and deliberately didn't say August 2nd. Well, let me don't say deliberately. Didn't mention August 2nd. But it wasn't in place until, I think, sometime in September.
Yeah. But August, they gave Guy Suko $600 million.
Exactly.
Soon as they came in?
As soon as they come in, right?
It was October, November, December. It was a 3-month period in which they came to us.
Okay. So you write this letter. No, I simply write, pointing to Mr. Gulsuran. Look, you quoted Article 218. You quoted Article 220. 219.3 is in the middle of 218 and 220. No high maths. No high maths. 218, 219, 220. I said, perhaps you know, it's oversight. Go back and read 219 and then apologize to your readers. Next letter, the man digs in his heel and says, we stand by our whatever you wrote in before. So I said to him, listen, brother, I have a legal opinion coming from the Office of the Attorney General dated December 2019. If he had asked for it, I could have faxed it and sent it to you or WhatsApp it or whatever. Because sometimes it's thing that you make up these things. I don't know why I would go and make it up in public. I can't prove it. Anyway, he didn't say that. And, you know, I said, listen, my friend, go and get some legal advice on 219.3. It's only after Chris Ram wrote afterwards, after my letter, the next day saying, I agree with Mr. Jordan, that he comes with his apology.
Oh, I see.
I don't know if he was influenced by Mr. Ram. Don't know if he was influenced by that, but he did say he contacted 2 legal friends.
Yeah.
And even though he's apologizing, is ruffling feathers by saying he may have made a mistake.
We saw that.
Because what persons don't understand is that because he is conscious also that there is this August, September, these 2 months, right? So what is going to be the line of argument when it comes to that? Because the budget, that very first budget in 2020 was catering October, November, December. So there's the August, September period also. So it's impossible for you to hold that stringent line, that incorrect line, if you were to look at the holistic picture.
But broadly, we're talking about the stewardship here, about the people's money on the people. And I brought up Alan Gulsuran again for the fact that Mr. Gulsuran, writing for Starbuck News recently, highlighted projects, huge projects that failed in this country. And I don't think he was attacking the PPP. It so happened that all the projects, huge projects that failed, were under the PPP.
Sure, I don't understand why you're giving Gulsuran credit for that. I had raised these matters as well. No,
I have raised the fact that I said Mr. Gulsuran, because often when we say it, you hear it's coalition propaganda and so on. So when a quote unquote independent person, raises it and say, well, if other people talking about it, we can't be right because we have been saying it.
I know you're right.
That is the point we raise it.
I see a certain newspaper hold on to Mr. Deacon or Dinkin or whoever it is.
Dixon with the
Deacon, Natural Resource Fund and so on. Brother, I've been saying these things.
We're coming down the line to Natural Resource Fund,
right?
But I just wanted people to know that other persons out there are raising the same issues we are raising on failed projects. That the CGIA airport was a completely failed project, according to Mr. Gulsuran. The skeleton sugar factory, as we on sugar, is described by him as a completely failed project. the one laptop per family, the fiber optic cable issue, and we went ahead to tell you why he said they were a failed project. He said nothing was achieved out of these projects, but they saddled the country with debt. And he went on to say that they completely failed to deliver in terms of their objectives, outputs, outcomes, impacts, and what have you. And we often like to use these quote unquote independent sources, because again, when we say things, they get labeled as it's them boys on the outside.
Yeah.
All right.
But all the people are saying the same things.
No, I agree. I totally agree with you, Sharon and Joetta. I totally agree with you. And if only we will take a dispassionate, politics is politics, if you want to take as well. But when you take a dispassionate look and examination of these things, you will come up to the realization why Guyana is where it's at today, and why perhaps it will continue being where it's at, notwithstanding bountiful resources. We're failing to do the minimum things. You know, they used to say when Bonham was alive and so on, one man's dream is becoming a whole nation's nightmare. But we have continued. He died, and we continue having these dreams becoming nightmares. All of those projects that you named there were failures. But check the amount of money that was spent.
That's the point
right?
you're raising.
Check the amount of money was spent, number one. Number two, we would have added it as part of our investment. Investment. Yeah? These are investments that literally are sunk because they're not benefiting the country. We then have to turn around, because all of them are saddled in debt. We have to turn around and use money from the consolidated fund, which is taxpayers' money, to pay those debts. Think about a scale done. $200 million US. Now, if it worked, then it made a profit. It would have been paying back the loans to the government, who guaranteed the loans. B, we would have been getting taxes from Gaisuco. And C, we might be getting a dividend, because we own Gaisuco 100%. The most issue. So instead of money flowing from Gaisuco to the treasury, monies have been outflowing from treasury to Gaisuco. And people love to say, well, y'all have been taking sugar levy from Gaisuco in the 70s and so forth. And it's about time y'all flow back money. This is another story, maybe for another time when I come. But and because it is erroneous to suggest that the taking of the levy was taking away income from Gaisuco. Gaisuco got a price for sugar, not because it went to the world market and negotiated or sold sugar at it's because the government being part of a pact, ACP, went and negotiated with Britain, the colony, and got a special price. Preferential price. I went to Mauritius in 1988, 7 days after I got married. I got married April 1988. 34+ years.
Wow.
Y'all young.
Very much
so. Life, Mr. George, be married.
And in Mauritius, you know what they did? They refused to give the sugar entity the entire price. They worked on a basis of, this is the world market price, this is the special price, you will get this piece to continue the work in the sugar factories and so on. We will take this piece to diversify and improve agricultural production. And that is what the British had said when they were giving us this special price. They said this was aid to help you in your transmission diversification, even within the sugar area. And I was amazed when I went to Mauritius in 1988, what they had done with their part of the money. Their part. In Guyana, we ate our money out. When you look at sugar and the labor costs relative to total costs, and all the strikes and all these different kinds of things and so on, we ate the money out. So that when Britain pulled the preferential market, we were dead. But indeed, sugar was dead years before.
But
it's the propping up due to the special price that kept sugar limping all along the time. And they were under no obligation to improve efficiency, under no obligation, because they were treating their production from this special price rather than taking their benchmark price as the world market price.
Yeah, so we have lots of issues there. But you, even a broken clock, they say get to be right twice per day. And we did say that this thing wasn't coming back. If they think that we are broken clock on this side, and now they have gone to say the very same thing, sugar isn't coming back. Here's $250,000 and everything that goes with that. And they have been bad for the industry because it really and truly fell down under them. Mr. Jordan, do you think you should be made a saint? Because you seem to have accomplished a miracle in 2019, 2020, where inflation is concerned. Well, those 2015 to 2020 years seem to have been good years where inflation is concerned.
And Sharon and Joetta, if y'all guys want Saint me, no problem. But I really am a very modest person, But when we're talking about prudent management, it's not a slogan for budgets and speeches and so on. It must be a target, okay, that you are aiming for, that will become as a result of prudent management of the economy. All right, and they try to beat up on the coalition. Can't beat up on me. None of them tried beating up on me, but they use the coalition to say this, to say that, or they come up with some nonsense about how many taxes we took out of the economy. Imagine we were taking out those taxes if we took their figures. If we took their figures and growing the economy, growing wages, growing the education results, growing the health statistics, reducing crime, people were feeling safer and so forth. All of that we were doing without oil money. Without oil money. And today when we got oil money, we are in more trouble than when we didn't have any oil money. And we are going down a path that is so dangerous. So dangerous. Because having oil money doesn't mean you don't have to manage the economy. You are enjoying to do even more. So you have to continue managing the economy as if you did not have this bounty.
Yeah.
Now they are managing the economy, or quote unquote managing the economy, with the bounty. And that is why they are refusing to identify where our NRF money is going. Whereas the NRF money should and must go to identified programs and projects which can be audited, accounted for, and done in a transparent manner.
But it's fetching the budget.
But it is.
It is fetching the budget.
That was one thing we had made absolutely clear. And you go back to the 2019 IMF report on Guyana, and they will tell you, we agreed to manage the economy in the non-oil structure. So that we were targeting non-oil deficit. Not overall deficit, non-oil deficit. In other words, then, without oil money, what will be your deficit? Because when you spend the oil money, it's targeted projects. So if you want to spend the oil money on the Demerara Harbor Bridge, that costs $270 million, $300 million, whatever the case may be, then this year we're identifying $50 million as the drawdown from the NRF for the Demerara Harbor Bridge. Now, the Demerara Harbor Bridge will be in the budget, but identified financing for the Demerara Harbor Bridge, new Demerara Harbor Bridge, $50 million US coming from the NRF. So you will all times know what is your non-oil deficit, and the projects to be financed from the oil, you will see them there.
But they took out that from the NRF. They took out that class.
And the governing board will have work to do. The governing board is useless. Useless. And I'm not saying that because I'm peeved because they get no. You go through it, you will see. There's no work for the governing board.
There's no real power.
So this is the board that is constituted. Major General Joe Singh has been chosen for the chairman, maybe outlived his usefulness now. Carolyn Rodriguez, people gotta ask how independent is Carolyn Rodriguez in a process like this here. David Lamy, you got Ramesh Duku representing the private sector, Dunson Barrow. But basically all of them chosen by the president. Right? And then you got the two committees in there. But this money was out and spent long before this was constituted.
Unlike you guys, I couldn't care less who they chose. Because when I look
They don't
and
have anything
see
to do.
what they have to do, no concern to me because they're not, I mean, they are not getting the benefit of macroeconomic advice as a board, and then making recommendations to the government as to how much money to withdraw from the fund so that they don't attack inflation, appreciation of the exchange rate, or competitiveness, all these different macro metrics that we have to deal with when you're managing the economy.
And that was built in there
That's right.
in the original act.
That was built in the original act, right?
That is
They don't have that, okay? They can't tell the government how much money to pull out. That already in the appendix, how much money to pull out. And what is in the appendix bears no relationship to the rest of the economy. Somebody pluck a figure and say for the first 500 million, I can take all. The next 500 million, I can take 75%. Nobody can tell you how they came up with these percentages. Nobody. So you can imagine in 1 year this economy being pumped with an additional 1.2 billion US dollars.
I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that.
We're seeing the effect.
I want to talk about that
every single
so
day.
as you said, quite recently.
Sure, I may have to go because I got to go and catch that certificate. I don't know what was I don't know when is they close off time, but I rather suspect it's maybe by about 10.
Gotta have you back.
That I have to go and get my.
We're definitely going to let you go, but just for the sake of the viewers, we know that we had a lot of money in this. The natural resource fund was about $738 million. They took out 200 million recently, and as you said, we don't know what specifically those funds are going to be spent on. And the guys have told us it's 27% of what was in there has been withdrawn. That's going to be, probably some of them gone to jobs, and these 800 jobs, 2,000 jobs.
But what I could tell you quickly, Sharon, that I have a theory. It's hard to get a picture of the economy in Guyana. Even the half-year report comes 2 months after. The Bank of Guyana does great work, but I think the last time I checked, they're only at March 20. March 2020. So it's hard, and then they're not giving you central government operations. They're giving the bank operations. True. But I am surmising that they really needed to pull that 200 million so quickly because none of their so-called big projects are anywhere near on stream. Tomorrow they say they're signing the new Demerara Harbor Bridge, project. So there was no need to pull that 200 yet. I don't know. Gas to shore is the Exxon who are financing that using their money, so they don't need it. So this 200 million, I could only surmise they needed it badly.
40 billion?
40 billion. They needed it badly because this is the early part of the year when not much happens, including in collecting taxes and so forth, right? And then they had to give up so much taxes on the oil front, get rid of all the excise taxes on gas, and then they give away more taxes and all kinds of things. So more and more taxes are being given away. So the base, the lifeblood of the government is being weakened while they're carrying more and more expenditure. More and more expenditure they're carrying. So the deficit must be widening. And so instead of, they've been borrowing heavily through treasury bills and so on. And
we don't want to talk about the overdraft.
They would have sent the 200 million, pull that 200 million out to shore up the central government budget. All right. At the same time, now when you look at the external sector, that sector is not outside of earnings from petroleum. Nothing much is happening, and especially again in the first early part of the year, nothing much is happening. Sugar continues to be a disappointment. Rice has been good, but rice has its own problems, and gold in the early days don't get much. So nothing much is being earned in terms of foreign currency. When I looked at the Bank of Guyana report up to March, you will notice between December last year and March, the end of the year, the Bank of Guyana had leaked 131 million US from their reserves. 131 million. Now the Bank of Guyana only uses its reserves for broadly 3 purposes: purchase of fuel, especially for GPL, debt servicing, and intervention in the foreign currency market whenever, particularly there are shortages, they will throw some and help stabilize the exchange rate and the currency and so forth. They didn't, when I checked, they didn't go into the market because their statement was that the market was flush with money, and that was causing they didn't say appreciation of the rate, but causing the rate to dip. Either way, it is appreciation of the rate, really. So if they are going to be leaking 131 million US in reserves, it is because they had to be paying more for the other two items, principally fuel, and of course maybe debt servicing also, because that might have gone up higher given how much more debts that we had to start servicing. So there might have been a concern, over the next 3 months that this leakage of reserves will continue. When I say leakage is drawdown, you have to draw down on the reserves and so. So this 200 million, when you take it from the Natural Resource Fund, it will be sold to Bank of Guyana. So if their reserves were 630, they now have reserves now 830 million US. And Bank of Guyana will credit the consolidated fund with 41.7 billion. Now that is new liquidity injected into the system, because remember it was standing outside of the system, right? But now it's injected into the system. You know what comes into play now?
But let me actually question
inflation.
Before you go, so you can
That's
talk to
why
people about that, right? Because between the last 3 budgets, these biggest budgets ever, and all that we're seeing now, it's a lot of money out there. But why don't we feel better off, right?
But a lot of money. Well, you decide. I don't know if somebody could tell me. If somebody could tell me when I don't want to miss, because tomorrow I want to do a little driving out and so on. And
where are you trying to catch?
No, right to the police station out here. I have to carry the car to for fitness.
Yeah.
And I don't know when they close up, but I don't want to lose today because tomorrow's a holiday and work and.
Got you.
Yeah. So. Again, that as quickly as you could answer it, it's like, why aren't we feeling better? Because you hear all these things, money given out here, money given out, so money, you get money, I get money. Why aren't we feeling better? Why the prices seem not to be,
the money is being stuck. The money is being stuck in places that really don't consume. Look, me, you, and everybody else here, we are the consumers, but we don't have money to consume. If you remove all the taxes from rice, it doesn't mean that rice price gone down. But even if rice price went down from, say, $100 to $90, right? Which means our purchasing power, not our disposable income, but our purchasing power have improved. Because whereas before we were buying 1 pound of rice for $100, now we can buy it for $90, okay? And we have $10 to buy 2 minutes or whatever you want, right? You're not getting the trickle down. In fact, every opportunity is being used to raise those prices even more before you remove the taxes. Check it and you will see. All those who go and feeling the pain in the markets will tell you, as soon as they say, well, we have removed the VAT from so, by the time you go next week, that same commodity gone up. You know what they'll tell you? Well, fuel prices gone up.
Yeah.
Ukraine.
And you don't have to
now,
tax.
the people who do the spending, their disposable income not going up. So how are they going to
public
purchase?
Servants, for instance.
Public servants and all the other different. How are they going to purchase? Yeah. Now they are attacking, albeit partially, the problem where it should be attacked to improve the disposable income by direct transfer. So this part, $1,000, no matter what we talk about it, is going directly to the people who will purchase. Who will purchase? The Riverine 800 million, it's going to the people who will purchase.
But that's what you did, Mr. Jordan. And I have to say at this point, because that's what was done under you.
Yes.
In terms of the structured system, when you looked at taxation and the fact that wages and salaries are increased every year. And I said it so many times that was the sure way of elevating persons' empowering people rather to elevate their standard of living, when you're looking at and all the other technicalities that went into making sure that the inflation rate was there and it's stable, right? Almost at nothing. So you're having more money into your hands without the prices raising. So most naturally, a little primary school child would tell you that your standard of living, what you are able to purchase, would be going up every single year. You're able to purchase more superior goods and all of those things. But here we are with persons that say that they know to manage the system. And
so you said that is why inflation could have been 0.9 in 2020, and now it's it's well over 5. You know, people had more purchasing power. It's going to go.
Look,
that's the challenge that we had.
And I hope.
We're gonna let you go down.
I'm not going to knock out and start bloating. They did excellent work and so on. But I hope the professionals and so on will take a close look at inflation.
Yeah.
Inflation in the United States is running over 8%. Okay, if they are running 8% and we are importing virtually everything in this country, it's going to hard to believe that we got an inflation of 3 or 4% by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because in fact, I think the feds now are going to be moving. They are going to be moving to curb inflation, and in fact, it's one of the things that is going to.
Which is what our guys are saying, Mr. Jordan, that we're going to be going up. We're going to be well close to 15% perhaps at the end of the year. This
mismanagement of the economy, unfortunately, by Biden is going to make him lose a lot in the next elections coming up. Apparently, I won't say he mismanaged the economy, but I'm saying it's kind of like a bit unfortunate. But now COVID gone and so on, they have to go and pull back the tax, pull back all the money they give you, and so on. This is not going to make good friends. And that is why the strategy that we are using also is going to put us in desperate trouble. Because all those taxes, for example, that they have pulled, when they attempt to put them back as things normalize, they are going to get great pushback in the society. Great pushback in the society. If you attempt to put back taxes now, where people say, well, I mean, can you imagine you putting back taxes on fuel? Oh my God.
When you take it to zero?
We
spoke about it.
So I really don't. I'm retired, so I'm not going to be offering any advice to anybody. I'm totally
We're
retired.
We're going to have you back though.
We have to have you back.
But I'm prepared to give this here and so on. But I will tell our friend, who's a good friend of mine, because we were absolutely good friends in Parliament and we worked together at Ministry of Finance and so on. So I don't think we have any
relationship.
We don't have any work relationship or anything right now and so on. But if I were to advise him, I would give him advice that is totally different than what he's doing here. I don't know whether he's in charge of this aspect of the economy, but if I were him, I will seek out what I call quote unquote independent advice. There's nothing wrong with presidents having their own advisors. Many presidents around the world got economic advisors, even if they got ministers of finance. They got their own economic advisors and so on, so that they get that level of independent advice that is not coming from sycophants or whoever else who's just telling you what you want to hear.
Technical experts.
Right? So I would advise my friend Irfan to seek out independent advice, even as you get advice from your cabinet and so on. And in that way, you can marry the two and be able to come out with a policy that you can be proud of.
Yes. Well, I think that's a closing note as we let Mr. Jordan go this morning.
Yeah, and we say happy independence too. Happy 56.
Definitely going to have you back, sir.
Happy 56.
It has been quite an interesting conversation thus far, and everyone in the comment section has been saying kudos for all
that's
the
our time, guys. That's our time.
That's our time. Yeah, so we
thank you very much.
You got to do all the usual stuff. Share, smash the emoji button, and party with us. See you guys on Friday, and have a great Independence Day tomorrow, guys.
Have a good day, guys.
That's our time.